Hello, welcome. This is Force 13 Live in our fourth hour of coverage. The current time 11 PM UTC. That's midnight here in the UK and 7 o'clock on the US East Coast. And night falling over Hurricane Matthew, which is drawing ever nearer to Haiti, which is under, of course, a hurricane warning, as well as many other areas, which will be discussed shortly. Haiti could get the worst of this storm, it would appear, especially with its current rate of progress, slow movement, and still a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, and it is not weakening. I would say not weakening in a hurry, but in fact it's not really weakening at all. My name's Nathan Foy, I'm joined by the Skype team again.
Hello.
An ever-changing lineup of people, and
how's it going?
For this hour you can hear Isaac, Strat, Hank, Orlando,
Hello.
And I can't read the rest of it. Craig and Tropical Storm Nuke is there, but for some reason there's a circle over his name.
The spinning wheel of doom. What do you expect?
Yeah. Hank, I don't know if you were finished with what you were talking about at the end of that hour, but you can continue if you wish.
I was pretty much finished. I was about to bring up Chopper really quickly, and I feel like that's something we might want to start off with, for a good, couple minutes. It was looking pretty impressive earlier today. It actually became the sixth Category 5 we've seen so far in 2016, behind Winston, Fontana, Necrotrack, Lancy, and Matthew. Matthew, of course, still active, clearly. And it affected Okinawa earlier. It's beginning to clear the area right now. I'd say Traba is looking at least like a Cat 4 right now. It's going under an IO replacement cycle, some dry air getting in the way. And I just checked the wind graphic.
Okay, we're struggling with that. Something has happened. We'll return to the Skype team shortly. But for the time being, here's the image of Matthew moving off towards Haiti, and I can tell you that there are warnings in effect. Hurricane warning for Haiti. A hurricane warning was in effect for Jamaica, but it was downgraded. Oh, you heard that in the background. To a tropical storm warning. We're still not quite sure on that. And there are warnings in effect in Cuba and the Bahamas as well, and they're going to be extended very soon. I'm going to try and bring back the Skype team right now in the background. I'm not sure what happened before, but it appears that we have everyone back now. Don't worry, it was not a cataclysmic problem, and we're back with everyone in the background there. Something strange happened, and I guess we'll pick up from what you were saying just then. Oh, it would have been Hank, but he's not here, so...
Oh, hello.
Okay, so I guess that was one of those technical difficulties.
It seems like Nook coming back killed off Hank. Oh,
what the hell?
Killed off everyone. But we're still live, so don't worry about it. We're still all here and alive, and...
Okay, I'll finish up what I was saying, I guess. I'm still kind of confused what happened, but whatever. Let's see. This is microwave of Chaba. You can see, you can kind of see in those last few frames, IWAL replacement cycle trying to get it back together. You can see the second IWAL right here, and this kind of takes over. So IWAL replacement cycle is underway. I don't know if it's going to, actually, be successful or not. But if it does become successful, it's just going to ram it to Japan, or it can really get us back together, answer the wind shear, and all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't really have too much time to get back together, really. Just looking at latest visible, that doesn't look like it's gonna. It looks like it's peaked already. It was a pretty good looking Cat 5. I will say that.
It was indeed, and the rate was intensifying when it was getting towards Cat 5. It leveled off as a Category 4, but at one point it looked like it could well have got to 180 miles an hour or higher. But it didn't get there in the end.
And looking at other storms going on aside from Matthew, we got 98L, which is moving with the trade.
Cloud.
look at that cloud that's probably going to get named.
In the shadow of Matthew, just about to the southwest there.
Yeah, there is a circulation, but it isn't by no means close, so they can't really call this a storm. And it looks like there might be some sort of circulation going on over here. That might be a mid-level low, so this looks to be decoupled, possibly by some of the shear coming off from Matthew. So you know, it's kind of hindering development from this. We also have an invest in the Central Pacific, based on the international dateline, basically, and it looks very interesting. Looks like a close low, but there's no convection over it right now. Let me see if I can get the latitude and longitude up. Yeah, that's in the West Pacific now. So that would be named just Air. I think it's Air or Airy or AERE. So it's just Air, as Devin was earlier. And one more invest in the West Pacific that might or might not form as it moves towards Luzon. But obviously Matthew right now is the main point of concern for quite obvious reasons.
And speaking of Matthew, the latest visible imagery comes in. The core is like, you know, over moonlight, so it's, you know, the nighttime visible. Kind of makes it harder to tell certain things, especially like how clouded the eye is from the last frame to the next.
You can kind of tell, I guess.
Yeah, you can kind of tell, but it gets a bit harder in particular, especially just the last two frames. Because you can see clearly the second to last frame, the eye's very clouded. Another burst of convection right next to it trying to get sucked in, and then it looks like, you know, a perfectly fine small eye in the next one.
Yeah,
okay, let's get some questions, if I may. John Humphreys says, should I leave Miami now or tomorrow?
Well, okay, we don't know if it's moving towards Florida yet, but I would say consider it just to be safe, okay? I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying that you could have a plan in mind just in case.
And I see you're looking at the comments there, so you may as well read out the other ones.
Okay. What other comments are there?
There was one about, oh, I can't remember now. Where is it? Another one about Florida. I mean, if you're thinking about evacuating in Florida already, it's a little bit soon. It ain't, for at least 2 days, there shouldn't be any evacuations going on in Florida because we really don't know. And I do say shouldn't because it would be an unnecessary one if the storm happened to miss. We will only know for sure, or as good as sure, in 2 days at the minimum.
We have a question from Michelle Cheatham, I believe it's pronounced. What is the likelihood of it turning into the Gulf? NavGem does say it could briefly enter the Gulf, but that's
fairly.
just
But that's
barely.
just one run, so
It's
you can't be sure.
and it's an outlier, so I don't think it's very likely at this point. It should stay east of Florida.
Sparrow C is asking what the wind destruction will be like. You want to answer that?
Wind is not the biggest issue with Matthew. It's by far rain, because the wind. Okay, yes, hurricanes are mostly known for their winds, but just because it's a category 4 right now, it has, I believe, last I checked, 140 miles an hour winds, which actually reminds me the update might be coming up pretty soon. But considering the fact that rain is an issue, winds is probably something that I don't think should be, that's focused on too much, because rainfall could get up to 1 meter in some areas, and that is significant in whichever way you look at it, because especially bad for Haiti because, as I explained earlier, re-explain it for new viewers, the mountains in the Haitian coast, pretty much all across Haiti, the sides of the mountains have been deforested, for reasons I'm not entirely sure why, but they've been deforested. So what that does is that loosens up the soil. So when you could get a good 3 inches of rain or 10 centimeters of rain, or no, not 10 centimeters of rain. I can't speak today. Yeah, sure, 10 centimeters of rain, whatever. But point is, you could have not very much rainfall at all, and it could cause some landslides. So 10 centimeters of rain could cause some landslides. Imagine what a meter of rain could look like. That's 10 times the amount of rain. Probably more than 10 times the amount of damage, unfortunately. And Haiti is especially susceptible to these types of disasters because, one, it's underdeveloped. Two, they're still recovering from the 2010 earthquake back in January of 2010, believe it or not. And the housing in Haiti is not very high quality whatsoever.
I'd be interested to know if anyone has any time on their hands to find out how much rainfall our comparative storms delivered on Haiti. Storms like Hazel and Gordon and Thomas.
Gordon, I believe, I don't know how much rain Gordon dropped, but I'm going to look at the GFS predictions of what it's saying, how much rainfall will fall on.
Correct. Somebody asked a question, and they said if they should leave St. Lucia and go to Orlando. So what I would like to say is, there is absolutely almost it's almost impossible for Matthew to track all the way to St. Lucia. So I'm for that person that said that, I would say you're fine right now. Overall,
I think they mean St. Lucia, Florida. I don't know if they're talking about St. Lucia as the island in the Lesser Antilles.
They're referring to
in Port-au-Prince, the Haitian capital, during Hurricane Gordon, there was 23 centimeters of rain.
Well, there you are.
Okay, so
you're talking about a meter here.
So yeah, that's a meter is more than 4 times that. And for you,
we're talking about meter, but
Americans,
not necessarily in Port-au-Prince. What is saying in Port-au-Prince over there? A little bit.
So 9 inches of rain is what it said.
Yeah, for basically 9 inches for you stubborn Americans who are too lazy to switch to the metric system. Topic for a different day. But yeah, a lot of rain could fall, especially on the Tiburon, Tiburon or Tiburon. I'm not entirely sure of pronunciation, but that's southern peninsula of Haiti. Could see, according to GFS, possibly up to what that says 24, but that's got to be higher. Some isolated 36 inches, according to this.
Maybe.
Some areas are expecting 40 inches of rain, which is over a meter.
That's just over a meter, yes.
And the worst thing about this whole situation is that Haiti doesn't really have a lot of money, so that's a huge problem.
Yeah, Haiti is. They've got some economic issues on their hands, obviously. You could have storms like Gordon of 1994 came at least 150 miles away from a landfall, but still killed nearly 1,200 people, if I'm not mistaken. And Hurricane Hannah of 2008 was a Cat 1, didn't come very close to the country, but still caused about 500 deaths. And this is all due to rain. All of it's due to rain. It's very rarely ever due to storm surge, because it's not due to storm surge because the mountains in Haiti, they go up pretty quickly as you get into the coastline. So storm surge is not really ever an issue that much. Neither are winds. Winds are still an issue, obviously, but not as much as rain. Rain is, without question, the biggest issue in Haiti whenever you have a storm that comes in to make landfall. No matter what.
I think also Nathan looked around earlier to try to find another contact systems for people in Haiti. He said he didn't find anything.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. And if going a little
all I've seen so far is what Stephen's been posting quite often, and I thank him for that. I can't remember exactly who the person was, but some sort of coordinator. And it would be nice if he could post it again so I could read it off there. But someone you can contact. But that's all I've seen so far. A phone number. It seems to be very sparse, and goodness knows whether people are aware of evacuation centers or safe places to go and all that. If indeed there are any at all.
Fortunately, there's a lot of people in Haiti that some people, like right now, we don't even know if, like, most people in Haiti are so poor that sometimes they don't even have knowledge of what's going on, to the point that they don't know where to go, guys, to seek shelter for summer.
You've got your shelter buildings, yes, but where else are you going to go to evacuate? You can't really go into the Dominican Republic because there's still going to be a lot of rain there. You can't. You're on an island, so you can't really,
Yeah,
get a boat ride to Cuba or the Bahamas because, for one, those places are going to get hit, and two,
exactly. And
So,
sometimes, in places, especially rural areas, there may not even be a shelter to seek refuge in.
Okay, let me read off here. The Haiti emergency contact, apparently, Miss Alta Jean-Baptiste, Directorate of Civil Protection, apparently Rue de la Réunion, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, telephone number 509-228-2537. And also some other comments. When will Matthew hit land? We don't know, basically. Though within 12 hours we expect its closest pass to Haiti, or probably less than that now. Maybe as day breaks tomorrow it might be making its closest approach. Mariana Ortiz says, will Wellington be safe? Is that in Florida?
I can check.
I'll Google it.
And
I
Steve
believe that's in
Beasley
North Carolina.
asks
I
about
think I've heard of
Melbourne, Florida. Well, it doesn't ask, actually. It says it will be hit, as if it's a fact. Well, it isn't yet.
Wellington is a village in Palm Beach County, Florida.
Right.
Population 61,485.
So when it comes to Florida, we can't say anything with any sort of certainty. We won't know for at least a day or two. And we also have... Sparrow keeps asking me about a motion towards Save Haiti, which would be a... Is that already started, or... I don't know, but I can't do anything whilst I'm here, unfortunately. But I'd like to think that we're providing some sort of assistance, at least in broadcasting the information as it comes out, and trying to ensure that people in Haiti and everywhere else is as well prepared as possible and is up to date.
yeah.
Donut Gaming
there's also-
says, will Jacksonville be affected? Again, same thing with Northern Florida. It's too unknown so far. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was going to say, there's two good questions I saw. One of them was a while ago, so I'll address it first. Alton the Kid asked if what's going on with this other area of low pressure interacting with Matthew. I think you're referring to our friendly cloud of 98L, but
yeah, that is probably not. It's I don't really know the situation for 98L because
it says 40-40 or 50-50.
It's 50-50 right now. But
Yeah, which is 2-day, 5-day.
Yeah,
but it's supposed to get sheared apart after 2 days if it doesn't develop. And then the other question was from Sparrow C, and he or she was asking if Matthew is currently unstable.
What exactly do you mean by unstable? Do you mean unstable in track?
He just said unstable. I think he means the storm, the system itself.
Okay, so by standards of the eye and the center of the storm, maybe. It's been very hard to tell. The system has been fluctuating ever since its quote-unquote Cat 5 peak. So it's basically, it's unstable, but the eye has been wobbling quite a bit these past few days. Fancy term for it, trochlear oscillation, basically a fancy word meaning, the eye wobbles around, and it happens pretty commonly in intense storms of at least category 4 plus in intensity. So, but yeah, sure, maybe. Microwave suggests that an eye roll replacement cycle could be on the way or is already beginning. So I don't really know what you mean exactly by unstable, but
she commented. She said, "I mean unstable in track in the storm itself, not just the eye, but the storm in total."
Okay. It's a category 4 hurricane, so any hurricane that that moves towards the land is gonna have some what's the word? It's gonna have some issues.
Instability.
What?
Instability.
Well, it's not necessarily instability. That would actually just enhance the storm. But it's just gonna have some, it's gonna have some unstable, actions going on within the storm because of land interaction, which would indicate weakening, but it could also indicate, when you got an eyewall placement going on, which would consider that the storm is unstable, that also increases the convection. So, which convection is basically a fancy word for thunderstorms. So, an increase in thunderstorms, basically. So, if a storm's unstable, it could actually be worse if the storm was stable. Though, in terms of rain, not necessarily in the wind and storm surge department. And track, yes, it's been an unstable track. It's been wobbling around, basically since the peak, as I said earlier.
Yeah, and its whole history has been pretty odd as well. Like in terms of just wobbling, south-west tips, stalling, northwest east. You name it.
It's a quite odd storm, to say the least. I think if I 6 hours before it became a Cat 5, it had exposed low-level circulation.
It did. Yeah, it did.
So basically, going from 0 to 100 in not very much time at all. And its pressure was also quite high for Cat 5, but that's because of its low latitude mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Felix also had a relatively high pressure for its wind speed because of its low latitude.
I also noticed there's a lot of comments going on about, like, how will this impact Florida, East Coast, New Jersey, New England? I would say it's too early to tell.
It's too early to as we keep
There's
saying.
definitely going to be surf and, rip currents and stuff, so it's not a good idea to go to the beach. But in terms of, heavy rain and strong winds, that's too far out to tell.
Yeah.
Even though the 3-day cone places the very end of it places St. Augustine in it, but for all we know, that might change, especially because the storm is currently east of the forecast track as well.
Yeah, you got it spot on there, Strat. I think that's Strat. Is it Strat or Nook?
Yes.
Strat. Okay. But we have a question from 29. Let's go. How fast is it moving? Last NHC advisory said north at 7 miles an hour, but that came out almost 3 hours ago. The new advisory should be coming out during this hour.
I think that's the fastest it's moved in 4 days.
Yeah.
I would say, though, that it's not exactly moving north. It has been moving closer to north-northeast since, 4 o'clock Eastern, so...
That's correct. I'm just going
probably.
So if it says north, don't just think it's going straight north right now. That might be a little bit misleading to think like that.
At this time...
We're going to monitor every frame to see just where exactly it's going next.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, every half an hour.
We haven't really mentioned this too much. The warnings in effect for Matthew right now.
Yeah, talk to us about the warnings.
Yeah.
I did mention them briefly.
This is from 2100. It's still saying a hurricane warning's out for Jamaica, which is...
Yeah, they did an update statement virtually moments after this update, which downgraded that hurricane warning.
Where's that?
The big pink update statement that said...
Okay.
But all it says is, that.
Okay. Basically... Okay. So... A hurricane warning, which means hurricane conditions are likely or basically guaranteed almost within the next 24 hours. So a hurricane warning is in effect for Haiti, the entire nation of Haiti.
Yep.
The Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Santiago de Cuba, Hooligan, Granma, and
Holguin.
Southeastern Bahamas, including the Iguanas, Managuana, Accolins, Crooked Island, Long Key, Ragged Island, and the Central Bahamas, including Long Island, Extremadura, Rum Key, San Salvador, and Hat Island. A hurricane watch, which means that hurricane conditions are possible within the next 36 to 48 hours, are in effect. Hurricane watch is in effect for the Cuban province of Camagüey. I'm not entirely sure of the pronunciation. Turks and Caicos Islands, the northeastern Bahamas, including the Abacos, Andros Island, Berry Islands, Bimini, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama, and New Providence. A tropical storm warning is in effect for the entire nation of Jamaica, from the Dominican Republic in the Dominican Republic from Barahona westward to the border with Haiti. And a tropical storm warning basically means tropical storm conditions are likely within the next 24 to 12 hours, basically. Tropical storm watch means tropical storm conditions are possible within the next 36 to 48 hours. Tropical storm watch in effect from Dominican Republic to Puerto Plata westward to the border with Haiti. So that's a situation with warnings right now.
I think it's...
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say again, like two things quickly. One about like just warnings and watches, especially for the Dominican Republic. Like I've been saying, this storm does have a pretty strong easterly component, which has pretty much stuck around the whole time. So even though there's only a little bit of watches and warnings on the Dominican Republic, they could still experience tropical storm conditions over a very large swath of the island.
Yes, and
then secondly, the update statement says that at 5 p.m. Eastern, 21 U2C, government of Jamaica has discontinued the hurricane warning and placed it with the tropical storm warning for the entire island.
Yes.
Personally, I feel like that's just, scapegoating it a little bit, but...
Yeah, just because it was downgraded to a tropical storm warning does not mean you're out of the clear. Still means you're still going to get tropical storm, maybe hurricane conditions on the island. So just because it's downgraded doesn't mean you're out of the clear. Recon is beginning to enter the storm.
Yeah, they're getting there.
It does look like the strength picks up pretty fast as they move west into it.
Mm-hmm. As you were mentioning earlier, the easterly component of the storm, it's not as prominent as it was, but it's still definitely there, moving over the Dominican Republic right now.
Like something I saw back with the ABC Islands back when this was a younger system, nothing to do with now, but it just had this random huge flare up with an eastern stretch that went a while, so you never really know what's going to happen. It could flare, and you could end up with bad thunderstorms and stuff in that area.
It looks like Haiti might be beginning to get a little bit of a break in the next hour. But
it looks like that dry part is moving in.
Air is trying to get entrained into the storm.
It does look like they just went in through a deeper area of convection as well.
It'll be interesting to see what they find.
Once the eye goes farther north and the CDO follows with it, you're going to get some pretty intense rains.
I'm most curious to see what pressure they acquire from the storm.
It's going to be very interesting.
It's been pretty steady in the mid to low 940s, or the lowest I've seen it get is 940 or I think 939.
For the past 2-3 days, right?
Pretty much. Even at the Cat 5 peak.
So all those strengths have been fluctuating. Pressures stay pretty much the same this whole time.
Yeah. Here's a look at the latest.
I'd just like to point out, as of 5 p.m.
Here's the latest.
There's the illustration of the warnings.
Here's a little bit of a graphic showing both the cone and the warnings. I'm not showing the 5-day cone.
Don't pay attention to the 5 days.
Because that's just,
There's already enough speculation really, looking at that.
Yeah. And then the chat's already blowing up as well.
Chat will blow up because he is ever so slightly in that cone. It's just inevitable. But, this should move north, the tint of north-northeast, and then north and the northwest. It could get close. I know there's already more comments. I'm not even looking at the comments. I already know there's more comments asking if it's going to hit Florida. Too early to tell. It's too early to tell. That's the best answer we can give you at this time, unfortunately. We'll probably have a live event later on, and we'll probably know a bit more about the situation for Florida and the rest of the eastern coast.
We'll probably still be live.
We should. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't go live here for the system, but besides the point. Florida, just keep an eye on this. Don't start, your evacuation plans, but have your hurricane kit ready, just in case this thing comes close to you. Just in case, okay?
That is everything you can basically do at this point. It's just have your kit ready. If your emergency management district decides that it's necessary to evacuate, then
follow
up to you.
All evacuation orders. If there's a mandatory evacuation put into place, you need to evacuate. Okay?
That's too early to tell right now, although all the eastern seaboard should definitely watch this closely.
Oh, yes.
Anything about real impacts other than rip currents and high surf is merely speculation at this point.
Yeah.
And I just saw a really good question from Sparrow C. She was asking, what should I have in my kit?
Okay, basically have, extra food, extra water, some batteries, a phone charger, basic necessities that you would need.
And by food, like not food that like, you need to refrigerate, unrefrigerated food, like, canned food, stuff that doesn't go bad if it isn't refrigerated or frozen.
Yeah, stuff like that. But Strat, you mentioned a pretty good point earlier about the mandatory evacuations. I'm just giving out, like what they need, just in case it comes out. But yeah, that's the situation. Next NHC advisory will be coming out within the next at least 10 to 20 minutes. They won't update the cone. Those update the movement, the intensity, and the position.
That's every 5 and 11
o'clock.
o'clock.
Like every 6 hours.
And they'll update the forecast discussion as well, and I will read that that comes in, which should be pretty soon.
Yeah, Static Code also asked a good question. He's saying, do you think wind shear will weaken is to the point of a Cat 3 or Category 2?
Okay, the wind shear situation, there has been, somebody brought up a pretty good point earlier today, saying that, the shear is lifting north as the system is lifting north, so I'm just going to take a look at the shear tendency for the past.
And the shear along the eastern seaboard also, like, I'm pretty sure is moving eastward as well.
That's
so it's kind of leaving out a good area of, like, low shear. Like,
yes,
it's almost like, this isn't actually what's happening. It's almost like the storm's pushing the shear away from it.
Pretty much. This shear is moving towards the north. It's actually decreasing ahead of Matthew right now. So it's looking pretty favorable for that environment. Past the Bahamas, we don't know. We don't know if the trough should be negatively tilted, which would help to draw the system closer towards the eastern seaboard. But it's just a whole complicated synoptic scenario.
Yeah.
I'm not expert enough to see it. Someone who I am aware of who does know quite a bit about it is someone by the name of Levi Cowan. If you want to go watch his videos, he explains it pretty well. But you're not his level of expertise, so let's just stick with this. So yeah, that's basically the situation with shear. Sea surface temperature is obviously not an issue. I'm not even going to go into that. It's just not an issue whatsoever. Water vapor imagery for the Atlantic is showing that go load. Okay, pretty moist environment, especially off the coast of Florida. But that's just for right now. There is some very not a whole lot of dry air to the east, to the west of the storm. Dry air to the northwest of 98L. That shouldn't affect Matthew. That more likely to affect 98L. Yeah, it looks pretty good for environment conditions wise. It's looking pretty good for the system.
Yeah, pretty moist air all around it, basically.
Yeah, the weakening,
at least in definite path.
The look of it weakening is not due to any of the developmental factors. It's due to an eyeball replacement cycle that is likely underway right now.
And I know we mentioned this earlier, but there's still like a constant stream of viewers coming in and out. The deep convection close to the center has been expanding due to the eyeball replacement cycle, and along with that, especially it was easier to see in the rainbow like floater image that it's kind of swirling around. So in terms of Haiti, it's going to be kind of a game of luck to see whether or not when
I check.
Basically, and these clouds are actually...
Just repeat that, Hank, because I believe we lost the stream for a brief moment. Say again.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull up some imagery just to help out.
In the meantime, let's go back to the key points. If you guys want to talk about those key points right now, because a lot of people need to know about Haiti and Cuba and potential elsewhere.
So, situation with Haiti. If you haven't evacuated, don't. Just hunker down. You'll get through this.
Are you talking about Haiti there?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Haiti right now.
And also, go into the interior part, just like a tornado, go into the interior part of your house. Don't stay away from windows, as they most likely shatter in the instance of this hurricane. Yes, and just stay inside and cover yourself.
Yeah, that won't provide protection.
Cover yourself.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Don't.
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
No, Yeah, no, you keep going. You're still talking about like the warnings and stuff about that. So keep going. I was gonna say something about recon. So.
All right. They're probably in the center of the storm right now. Getting there at least. For Haiti.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked numerous times about how storms, even weak ones, can cause massive devastation in the country due to the fact that, one, it's underdeveloped, two, the whole deforesting issue and loose soil, three, they're still recovering from the earthquake in 2010, and four, you know, the housing conditions and the construction isn't very good on the island. So that's the situation for Haiti. It's probably going to be the worst affected country out of the countries I'm going to mention right now. The Dominican Republic, you're probably going to get, you know, less of an impact from Matthew as Haiti should, but still, you expect a lot of rain, possibly up to 50 centimeters. I'm not entirely sure how much, but I guess centimeters are the isolated spots. Haiti, you could see up to a meter, unfortunately. Jamaica, you're looking, you know, at one point, it was looking like the storm was going to make landfall in Jamaica. Now it's obviously looking like it won't. It's been downgraded to a tropical storm warning there from a hurricane warning, but that does not mean you're out of the clear by any means. You could still see tropical storm, maybe hurricane force winds on the island. Still some rain, but not as much as we will see. Not nearly as much because you're on the dry side of the system. For Cuba, eastern Cuba. Yeah, expect more of the same. Just, you know, a lot of rain. Not really a lot of surge, because the system is relatively small. The wind field is relatively small.
Yeah, and also, fortunately, it's moving in a direction where storm surge won't really be as big of a factor. If it was hitting from more of a westerly track, then it would be a problem.
Yes, the geography plays a massive role here, because you could already be seeing some storm surge in Cuba, but the Tiburon Peninsula in Haiti is blocking that surge, and it's getting all the surge on that part. And it's not really even going anywhere. The mountains go up pretty high up, not too far in from the coast.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least fortunately for Haiti, you know, they have to deal with so much rain and, you know, deforestation stuff. It's going to be bad. And then the strong winds, at least they don't really have to deal with storm surge due to the high mountain tops.
So, yeah, Cuba, you should probably see not as much as Haiti's going to see, but still some pretty significant impacts. The Bahamas, I'd say, you know, not necessarily landslides because they don't really have mountains there. You can't really see that. Just, you know, just some flooding, some storm surge is going to be more of an issue there because it's much more flat. And wind damage is going to be more of a concern than rainfall, in my opinion, at least. But that's for the Bahamas. Past there for the impacts to the United States, I know everyone's been asking about the impacts to Florida specifically because most of our viewers are from Florida, as someone could imagine, because Florida is supposed to get a lot of hurricanes, and they've only gotten one in the past 11 years. Anyways, but yeah, so impacts to the United States are still relatively unknown. Some of the models today have been trending a little bit closer to the United States, but you have to take that with a grain of salt because anything past 2 days, I'd say 2 days, 2 to 3 days, it's not a certainty whatsoever. That's exactly why I was showing the not this cone, but this cone, because anything after that is just, you know, very blurry, massive. It's a massive question mark, basically.
Yeah.
And now my question is, has the NHC advisory come out?
No, I just checked.
Has not. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be soon.
I also think to mention the latest visible satellite image just came out. I can screen share that right now. Right now, you got it. Yeah. The eye looks like if you go to the 2 frames back from its, like, you know, most recent one, it looks like, you know, the eye's completely clouded and stuff. I know it's nighttime and like over it, and that kind of makes it a bit harder to tell. But if you were just looking at it like without much thought, the eye looks really good at the most recent image.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell if it's really like, you know, shaping back up again into a really good, really small eye as well, or if that's just, you know, kind of harder to tell specifically due to the fact that it's night. If you go to the last room of the day, it's all clouded, but it looks pretty clear at night. I'm hoping that it becomes a bit easier to tell, but it does look pretty clear in a very small eye, if that's the case. So it looks like the eye shrunk down a lot in the last 2 frames, in particular.
The eye's been very small since, it passed the Aruba, basically.
Yeah, but the eye in particular from 3 frames ago to this frame was shrunk down a lot. Then again, like, not sure if that's just because it's nighttime and the visible satellite isn't as good, or if it's actually a thing. But pretty interesting.
I'd agree with you. I thought I heard Nook trying to talk.
Yeah, NHC did something to the post. It's 8 o'clock p.m. EDT, so I guess there's an advisory out now.
I thought I heard David in the background. So, hello, David. How are you?
Not bad. I've just come back online. Hi to all the viewers and here in the studio. I'm just looking at one of the floaters on Matthew, and my view is that it's either cloud covering the eye, or the eye is reducing in overall size.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, David. Glad to hear more people on the stream. That's especially. So recon in the storm is beginning to pick up. Actually, found some Cat 4 winds. It looks like. It doesn't say specifically the pressures. If I can zoom in there.
Yeah, I don't think they've got anything yet.
It's flight level. That's the thing. 947 at the closest path, and they're not in there.
It says extrapolated sea level pressure is 947.1 at its current location.
Okay, well, it will keep going, and
and so, it also looks like hurricane force winds are extending pretty far out on the northeast side, at least the quadrant in general.
That's bad news for Haiti.
Yes, the wind field is expanding. I will confirm that. It's not necessarily because it's moving further north. It's because of land interaction, more so than the forward movement. NHC still is not updated. Okay, I guess we'll stick with this for the current moment. What we haven't done lately is should we do that? How much time? Okay, about 10 minutes left in this hour. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at some of the computer models. And the comment sections are about to explode.
Well, you know what
I'll keep track of the comments for you.
You know what I prefer to show people, Hank? I prefer showing people the model run from that Florida website that shows them all side by side on the same map.
Also, it might be a good idea to also look at vorticity in the computer models. That's a good way to tell the height, or not the height, the health of the storm.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
I'll have to go and grab that link for you, Hank.
Okay.
But I sort of prefer the way that it's shown on there, just because you can see them all at the same time on one screen. It doesn't show intensities, but shows the tracks, and I think it's going to be most enlightening.
Yeah. And that's a training mission. That's finished. And so NHC still isn't updated. They probably won't for another good 5 minutes.
Yeah, they'll probably do it on the hour for this one.
Yeah, they'll do it. They'll do it probably right before the break.
They kind of want to suck in as much data as possible from recon before they make the update.
Yeah, they've got no particular reason to update any sooner.
Yeah. So I don't have that link, Nathan. Can you?
No, I'm still looking for it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's.
Grab it.
Well, for right now, while Nathan's looking for that link, let's go ahead and take a quick look at Chaba right now. Was pretty impressive earlier today. It's kind of been falling off a cliff now, mainly due to an eyeball replacement cycle. And wind shear around Japan is, as you would expect, very high, extremely high for that matter. There's some dry air around the system.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can kind of see it moving into it. Also, in terms of shear, I saw something saying 60 knots, in between, in the sea in between Japan and North or South Korea.
That doesn't really.
This storm should get shredded apart, basically.
Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me, Strat, because normally you expect a really high shear over Japan and Korea, and northern China. Which tends to kind of rip these systems apart. So yeah, it was a Cat 5 earlier today. It became the 6th Category 5 of 2016, behind Winston, Fontala, Nepertek, Moranci, and Matthew. So
quote unquote Matthew.
Well, okay. Well, that's
it was a Category 5 for like 3 hours.
15 minutes, but that's a topic for another.
45 minutes from my reckoning. Yeah.
Nathan, do you know what the wind speed of Matthew was at the 5 o'clock advisory?
Just
140 miles an hour is what it says.
140.
Because it's still showing 140, but the picture shows 8 o'clock p.m. EDT.
Really?
It still shows 5 for me. So.
Oh, well, they updated 98L, and now it's up to 60%.
Oh,
60.
Right.
Yeah.
They just want to name the cloud.
I'm just going to take a short break here from the desk, but you guys can keep going on that one.
I'll scroll down and see. You might want to pull up the screen share.
Yeah.
The floater loop of that.
Only reason they're doing this for 98L is just because they want the Atlantic not to be dead anymore, because it's been basically virtually pretty bad these past 3 years. They've wanted it to be, a bit more impressive.
I don't really get how they're like, up and up in the chance, especially because it's getting sheared apart by Matthew, and it does, there's some vorticity and spin with it, but there's no closed circulation either, and it's even moving into a worse environment, dry air, increasing shear.
Yeah, that's just not. And plus, it's decoupled. If you look at it closely, the mid-level low is underneath the convection, yes, but the surface low is exposed because of the shear from Matthew, and it's just not a very good environment. A bunch of dry air up here. You can kind of tell, especially because you could see a little bit of a lighter gray shade up here, which indicates some drier air at least than what's around the system.
And you can also tell it's pretty dry air just by those really kind of spiffy short cloud pieces out in front of it, or in front of where it's moving as well.
That more indicates some shear.
Yeah.
Actually, let's take a quick look at comments, because I'm been guessing. That's
I know there's been more
plenty.
Questions. There's been more questions asking about New England stuff. Sparrow with another good question asking.
Does the temperature of the storm affect its strength? So how will it affect Matthew?
What exactly do you mean by temperature of the storm? You mean the temperature of the hot temperature of the sea surface? What exactly
the best way to answer that
pretty much all of them.
Seawater temperature, yes.
Okay, so sea surface temperatures have a massive effect on the storm. The threshold is around 26.5 degrees Celsius, and waters at least of 29 to 30 degrees can sustain major hurricane or Cat 4, Cat 5, I guess. But just because the sea surface temperature is high doesn't necessarily mean the storm's going to form, because there's other factors such as wind shear, dry air, air stability, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Someone's a little bit too close to the mic, by the way.
Okay.
Breathing down the mic.
The Colombian says, is it possible for a Category 6 to occur?
No.
Okay.
No. There is.
It doesn't exist yet.
The Saffir-Simpson scale only goes up to a 5, which is maximum sustained winds of 157 miles an hour or above.
It was probably an ironic question there.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Let's please end this conversation now. Yeah. So, and going back to the temperature thing, if the cloud tops are cold, then that means the storm is intense, or at least the thunderstorms are intense. You could see, a tropical storm have a massive flare-up of storms, but, it's still disorganized. But it could still be a very intense area of thunderstorm. It doesn't necessarily mean hurricane.
I considered bringing up the Gulf Stream for a second, and then I realized, chat would probably go crazy saying U.S. is going to get hurt and stuff, so...
Yeah, let's just try to avoid that strat.
Yeah, stay towards the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have about 5 minutes left in this hour, so if someone can refresh the NHC...
I'm constantly
I've
doing
been refreshing
that.
for the past 10 minutes, and nothing's come up.
It's still 5 p.m. advisory. They're really trying to get as much recon information as possible before they put out the next update. Personally, the thing I'm most interested in is where they're putting the direction of the storm, because it's clearly been moving north-northeast, but they still have it at north on the 5 o'clock advisory.
They're probably not going to touch the intensity too much. They really haven't.
Not the speed, the directions more northeast. So I'd actually be pretty interested to see whether or not they decide to change that.
Yeah. They probably won't touch the intensity. They really haven't touched the intensity all that much.
The intensity is probably going to stay very similar.
Yeah, it's been it's been in that region of mid Cat 4. It was 130 this morning, I believe, but it bounced back up. So it's been a Cat. And by the way, this storm is really helping 2016's Ace in the Atlantic because
I saw that mentioned earlier. I think Stephen confirmed that it's now overtaking Gaston.
Dang it! I wanted Gaston to be the highest, but anyways, just for jokes that some of you might understand. But anyways,
that was actually going to happen though.
Yeah, besides the point. Yeah, this storm, the 2016's Ace has been not very impressive for the amount of named storms we've had. We've had pretty pathetic storms like Bonnie, Colin, Fiona, Ian, Julia.
And like you're saying, that a lot of, like 3 or 4 of them, you said they were just clouds.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Bonnie, Colin, and Julia were clouds, basically.
You said basically they just named them, try to buff up the numbers in general.
Yeah, and I believe the storms with less than 1 point for Ace. Bonnie, Colin, Danielle. Danielle's a legitimate top one. Fiona, surprisingly. I don't understand how that. Apparently, Devin said it was barely missed 1. I don't see how that's possible, but anyways. And I think Lisa also. I'm not entirely sure about Lisa. I think that's probably over 1 because it was close to 8. Yeah, it's probably over 1.
You could probably argue Bonnie was something. Colin, no.
Colin,
we got hit by Colin. All it was just rain. That's
Bonnie,
it.
Yeah.
We're getting off topic, but Bonnie was just a depression first peak, TS second peak. Colin was just a tropical trough. Anyways, NHC.
Yeah, and Stephen just adds on to the comment that he'd made earlier saying Matthew's Ace may end up being more than all the other Atlantic storms added together, and I certainly can see that happening.
I would not be surprised.
Christina wants to know if we live in the path of the hurricane. I don't. Some people in the room might, but we don't yet know.
It's too far out to say any of that for the United States.
But you know how quickly things can change with the NHC.
Don't mention that. People are going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Colombian says...
If you're looking at the cone...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you look at the cone, don't look at more than 3 days out. That's just, complete speculation at this point.
Mm-hmm. Basically.
Hype it up all you want. It's just not accurate to look at right now.
Especially in October. Just don't pay attention past 2 or 3 days. But looks like the NHC is not going to come out with their advisory before the break. So we probably have to do that in the next hour. Because it's 6:54 on my time, Central Daylight Time.
Yeah, it's 7:54 here on the East Coast.
It's 23:54, so almost midnight there. Recon has just updated actually, and it's oh my gosh,
129 knot wind detected by HS Recon. Wow,
134 millibars. Oh my!
How much?
How much?
934 millibars. Look at my screen share.
Oh my!
Hold on. What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Screen share? Wait, I don't. Oh wait.
It has been looking. It did look better briefly.
Oh wow!
After the last week on, and yeah, I tell you what, there is still that possibility that the storm could intensify.
Wow. Yeah, it looks like
you might want to actually put up that screen share on screen right now as well, just before we end the hour, just to.
I am.
All right.
That's a 6 millibar drop in 3 hours.
And well, that's not all that shocking.
Yeah, but really, until the past hour, there hasn't really been too many planes within the storm. So
yeah, that's the thing. So it was probably a gradual decrease, or maybe it could have been a pretty steep drop off. But
I'm just looking at the infrared satellite imagery, and I gotta say, next hour, watch this space.
Yeah, and then for but it could have gone to 9:30 and then risen, but whatever. Yeah, we're pretty much at the end of the hour now. One last refresh for the NHC.
But do watch this space with the next hour, because the satellite imagery, it could go one of 2 ways. The eye could come out again, which is quite possible because the eye wall temperatures are there. If the eye comes out with those eye wall temperatures, it's a Cat 5. But that's by no means confirmation, and we'll see if Recon confirms it in the next few minutes. Thanks, Hank, and we'll be back again in a few minutes' time. We'll talk more about the storm as we enter our 5th hour. Stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.